Miami Heat fans, there's good news, there's bad news, but primarily good. After the Heat demolished the Los Angeles Clippers on Monday night, winning 140 to 123, included a wild second and third quarter, a fourth quarter that made me a little bit worried. But either way, the Heat get a bounce back win after losing to the Pistons on Saturday to improve their record to 14-7. We're going to start with the bad news, and then we'll get into the good news because there's more good than bad, like I mentioned. So I want to get the bad news out of the way first. And the bad news is Pelle Larsson, a key contributor for this Heat team, second-year guy out of Arizona. He left the game with a foot injury, and it does look like he will miss some time. We'll talk about that here in a second. But we are 9 subscribers away from 26K. Please join the channel if you haven't already for daily Heat content. We'll be back live on the channel Friday for Heat Magic. Subscribe and put us over the top of 26,000 subscribers. Here is the injury update. This was tweeted midway through the game. Pelle Larsson left the game against the Clippers with a right foot sprain, and he will not return. Obviously, that's a major concern. You hear the word sprain, and you're like, well, how long will that keep him out? Well, the timetable certainly vary, and we'll have to learn more of the severity with the injury as the next couple of days goes on here. But Erik Spoelstra, after the game, asked about the injury, says it's a sprained foot. Larsson says he'll be all right, but don't they all say that? At least the initial prognosis from him and the trainers are that he should be okay. Now, yes, he is going to be okay, and it's not going to be like a season-ending injury, but I do still expect him to miss multiple games here. Like, I wouldn't expect to see him this week at all. I think it's going to be a question mark to see if he can get back on the court next week. And the beautiful thing about this Heat roster is they're so deep and they have so many guys that can contribute that you can maybe sustain Pelle Larsson being out for a couple of weeks to make sure he heals back to 100%. Now, this is not me diminishing Pelle Larsson because he has been absolutely key for Miami this season. I mean, he started 15 games this year in place of Tyler Herro at times, in place of Andrew Wiggins, in place of Norman Powell. Whoever missed time with an injury, Larsson was the guy who was asked to step up, and boy, did he do that. As a starter this year, he's averaging double-digit points a game, and he's been a key contributor on the defensive end as well. Like, there's a lot of key people in the Heat's start to the season where they're 14-7. I think he has been as important as anyone because his ability to step into that starting lineup and contribute right away has been really, really impressive. He's been able to take the spot, as I mentioned, of Wiggins, of Tyler Herro, of Norman Powell. And the Heat starting lineup has not missed a beat. It's allowed Erik Spoelstra to keep his bench intact, that three-headed monster at the start of the year. That was Jaquez. That was Kel'el Ware, Drew Smith, Simone Fontecchio. Larsson starting allowed him to keep those rotations intact. Now, it hasn't been as smooth as a year for Larsson off the bench, but he has still produced, especially over the last 3 games, that he has been moved to the bench against the Clippers, the Bucks, and the Pistons on Saturday. Not obviously averaging those elite numbers we displayed as a starter, but still shooting 44% from 3 and playing pretty dang well, in my opinion. So I like what Larsson has brought to the table. He has been very, very good. And I want to send the vibes to Pelle Larsson. Wish him a speedy recovery for the Miami Heat. Spam his jersey number 9 down in the comments. All right, so now we move on from the bad news to the good/great news. And it's the fact that the Miami Heat starting lineup finally clicked. I mean, boy, did they break out in a big way against the Clippers. You almost saw all 5 Heat starters score 6 or 20 points. Just absolutely ridiculous stuff from the Miami Heat. And the one starter that did not, by the way, score 20 points was Davion Mitchell, who did not miss a shot. He went 6 of 6 from the field and 4 of 4 from 3. I'll make the argument that the most consistent player for the Miami Heat this year so far has been Davion Mitchell, giving complete dominant performances for the most part on both ends of the floor. You had Bam Adebayo have the most threes in his career in a single game, followed up with 4 stocks, 2 blocks, 2 steals. Norman went nuts. Herro continues his 13-game streak of scoring 20 points. Andrew Wiggins continuing to play. It was, if you had find the word domination looked up in the dictionary, they might show what the Heat starting lineup did against the Los Angeles Clippers. Because when those five are on the floor, the game seemed to be not close really ever. It was unbelievable how good this Heat starting lineup has been throughout the year, but then you get Herro back and they struggle a little bit, and now they're playing pretty good basketball here. I mean, the starters' offensive numbers and advanced numbers were just flat out terrific. Look at this. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. A 78.8 net rating. A 76.4% true shooting percentage. These are numbers that you simply do not see. Now, this was just in the one game against the Clippers. Obviously, it was a little bit of a struggle in the first three games of the Bucks and the Pistons. Just the two games, excuse me. But still, it was finally good to see them click offensively. But let's not get it mistaken here. The reason why the Heat starting lineup finally clicked and balled out in this one was because it started on the defensive end. The starting lineup have a defensive rating of 86.8, was flat out unbelievably good. When they defend, look out. And that's why it's like if they can defend. Because when you start Norman Powell and Tyler Herro, there will be matchups that don't really suit Miami. And they will target the Heat's lackluster defenders, a.k.a. Tyler Herro and Norman Powell, almost every single time. But if that unit is able to lock in and play good defense and get out in transition and run, my oh my, I don't really know another starting five in the NBA that can stay with Miami offensively as long as they can play good defense. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. It is officially the holiday season, basketball matchups, playoff pushes, bowl games, and there is no better place to watch all of the action over on Prize Picks where it feels good to be right. New feature alert, early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. If you're out of your season in fantasy football, well, every week in football, you can still pick more or less on player stat projections to get in on the action. If you want to take in some basketball, well, you can go more than on Bam Adebayo points and rebounds. I've had some success with that lately. I've got a lineup already in for Week 14. Less than Breece Hall rushing yards, more than Devon Achane receiving yards, and more than Jalen Waddle receiving yards in that Dolphins-Jets matchup this upcoming Sunday. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Erik Spoelstra might have done it, folks. What do I mean by that? Well, I think since Tyler Herro returned, the part that Erik Spoelstra was struggling with the most was the correct rotations. Not who starts, but how do they stagger some of the minutes of Powell, Herro, Wiggins, Bam, Davion, with Jaquez, with Drew Smith, with Larsson. And I think yesterday, and it's easy to say this because Miami just completely dominated from start to finish essentially, but I thought yesterday had a really good rotation. And he found a lineup there in the second quarter that flat out dominated, almost as good, if not more, than the starting lineup did. And there was only really one tweak. And it was Tyler Herro being on the bench. And Herro has worked primarily with the second unit so far, working with Jaquez, Drew Smith, Kel'el Ware. And I don't mind that because Herro has a really good rapport with Kel'el Ware. But Simone Fontecchio entered the lineup in this group right here, and they were great. We showed the advanced stats of the starting lineup, and although it was better than this unit's, how about the true shooting percentage and offensive rating of this group? 172.7 with a true shooting percentage of 82.3. Now, the defense from the starting lineup against the Clippers was a little bit better, which is why the net rating was about 17, 18 points better. But, I mean, you watched that group play on the court, and they complemented each other so well. They were playing hard on the defensive end, crashing the glass, making the right rotations. And all five players were capable of being dynamic offensively. Fontecchio can knock down shots from deep, but also provide some size. Norman Powell obviously was doing his thing. I mean, that lineup we just shared on screen went on a 34-17 run once they all were together. And in that 34-17 run in the second quarter, it included a 30-4 run. So yes, there was a part where they got outscored 13-4, but they went on a 30-4 run to go from down 1 to up 26 or 25, excuse me. How crazy is that? Like, it's unthinkable. Like, you don't see 30-4 runs in the NBA. You just don't see that. And I'm glad that Simone Fontecchio got some run yesterday because he didn't play on Saturday against the Pistons, and I just simply could not understand why. Like, it's not even like Fontecchio had that elite of a game against Los Angeles. In 21 minutes, he only had 7 points, and he actually struggled from the field. But his activity defensively and on the glass, I think, really was key in that unit dominating the Clippers the way they did. But Fontecchio has been so good off the bench for Miami this season. I tweeted it out live on the game Saturday night at the half when Fontecchio didn't check in the first 24 minutes. I don't understand why he's not playing. They elected to go with Nikola Jovic, and I get it. Jaime Jaquez was out, and you were trying to fill that role off the bench with Jovic, who in theory can do a lot of the same things with size, ball handling, and driving to the rim. But we can't leave Simone as a DNP. If he is healthy, he needs to at least play 10 to 15 minutes a game, at least, because he has shown the ability to be competitive defensively. He has shown the ability to knock down threes at a very efficient and high rate on good volume. Let's not have Simone Fontecchio log any more DNPs the rest of the year. And if we have to log DNPs for Jovic the rest of the way, then I'm fine with that. And I know this is going to surprise some people because I'm a big Nikola Jovic guy. And I was maybe the creator of Nikola Jovic FC. I'm not selling my stock just yet, but if we have to win a ball game, I am going to play Simone Fontecchio over Nikola Jovic. I don't know if Jovic is in his own head, if he doesn't really fit this Heat roster this season with the players surrounding him, as well as this new style of Heat offense. But Fontecchio is way more productive and impactful positively for Miami than Nikola Jovic has been. So yes, I would play Simone Fontecchio over Niko Jovic. That'll do it for today's show. Appreciate everybody for hanging out with us here. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We're trying to hit that milestone 26K today, so join the family right now.